This Algebra Nation video will cover workbook page 125 and part, not all, a portion, a sliver, a part, a smidgen of page 126. And make sure that you pay attention so you don't look like this on the EOC.
Trinomials, part 2. So for this video, what's going to happen is we're going to factor, but we can't do exactly the add multiply game from the beginning. This trinomial has a coefficient in front of the square term that you can't factor out. So we're going to use a different method here. However, there are a lot of ways that this is taught. I've heard ways called like the diamond method, the box method, the AC method. Whatever the case is, I'm going to show you one way in this video. If you happen to know or learn another way, please post your ways to actually go ahead and factor this on the wall. But for right now, here's how I'm going to show you trinomials part 2. The first step to factor this trinomial is you're going to go ahead and multiply the first and last term together. 18 times 2 will give you 36. So that's the first step. Now we're going to play the add multiply game. We're going to find two numbers that add to 15 and multiply to 36. Again, we're going to add to 15 but multiply to 36. Now, eventually you'd be able to figure it out, but at the same time, one little tip for you is to go ahead and write down all the factors of 36. 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, 5 doesn't go into it, 6 times 6. Now, I know all those factors, but let's say that you didn't know all those factors. We're going to use something here called a calculator, and here's one way to work this out. Notice, if you haven't, I'm actually going in order from 1 all the way down. So I would just take 36 times 1, 36 divided by 2, 2 times 18, 36 divided by 3, 3 times 12, 36 divided by 4, so on and so forth. You would keep on going until you get the same factor, or if you just get a repeat, like in this case 6 times 6. But eventually, if you kept on going, you would get 9 times 4 and realize that you have all the factors. So now that I have all the factors, what multiplies to 36 and adds to 15? The answer is going to be 3 and 12. So now that we know that, we're going to split up the 15 to a 12 and a 3, or a 3 and a 12. Doesn't matter. The order does not matter. You can do 12a plus 3a or 3a plus 12a. We'll still get the same answer. Lastly, now that we split up our trinomial 3 terms into 4 terms, we're going to apply GCF, greatest common factor, to the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. What's in common with the first 2 terms? 18 and 12, that'll give you, they're both divisible by 6. They have a common factor of 6, and they have a common factor of a. That'll leave me with, let's see, 18 divided by 6 is 3. Take out an a, we're left with an a. Plus 12 divided by 6 is 2, and I have factored out the a. Plus, now in this case, 3a plus 2, there's nothing in common, which I always want to start off with this to remind you that if there's ever nothing in common, well, what is really in common with everything? 1. So you're going to place a 1 there, times 3a plus 2. You will now see, if you did this correctly, that the parentheses have the same binomial. 3a plus 2, 3a plus 2. You can now factor that binomial out as well. I went from 4 terms now to 2 terms separated by an addition sign. I'm going to factor out the 3a plus 2's, giving me 3a plus 2 times what was left in front, 6a plus 1. That's going to take a lot of practice. That's going to take some time. So this whole page was for one problem, but that's the process we're going to use to go ahead and factor a trinomial when we can't go ahead and factor out the coefficient in front of the squared term. So now, it's going to take just a little bit of practice. So here we go. Let's see. 4b squared plus 21b plus 20. Can't factor anything out, so I'm going to go ahead and start by multiplying 4 times 20, which will give me 80. Next, what multiplies to 80 adds to 21? So if we don't know, we have to write down all our factors of 80. 1 times 80, 2 times 40, 3 doesn't go into 80, 4 times 20. And again, if we need to, let's use our calculator. 80 times 1, that's good. 80 divided by 2, so it'll be 2 times 40. 80 divided by 3 doesn't go in evenly, so we don't write down that factor. 80 divided by 4 would be 20. 80 divided by 5 would be 16. And I would stop right there. You don't have to write down every single factor, but eventually if you get the factor that you want, I would stop. It looks like it's going to be 5 and 16. Next, I'm going to take my trinomial, my 3 terms, and split up into 4 terms. I'm going to take the middle term 21 and rewrite it as 5b plus 16b, because those are the two numbers that multiply to 80 and add to 21. The outside term on each side, I would just bring them down. I've now gone from 3 terms to 4 terms. I'm going to apply GCF, greatest common factor, to the first 2 and the last 2. What's in common with the first 2? Just b. I can factor a b out, leaving me 4b plus 5. Plus 16 and 20. What are those divisible by? 16b plus 20. I'm looking at 16 and 20, and I can see they're divisible by 4. So if I divide both by 4, I'll get 4b plus 5. And hey, I have the same binomial in the parentheses, which is what I want and what I should expect, and I'll factor that out now. 4b plus 5, and I'm left with b plus 4. Let's do another.